It's always so awkward starting. Hi, hello, iPad. So good to talk to you. Hello. Here we are in the middle of COVID-19, coronavirus, however you want to say it. Quarantine madness, quarantine 2020, COVID-teen. Here we are, something that has affected the entire world. I hope everybody is doing as good as can be expected under the circumstances. To be honest, I am very, very fortunate. It could be so much worse for me. But I hear about the stories of people whose, income is entirely cut off, people who have been laid off. I could probably sit here and talk about this for a long time, but that's not what this is about. This is a knitting podcast, actually knitting and eventually kind of a sewing podcast because I've started a new craft. I bet you can't guess what it is. Anyway, I'll probably be talking about that too. But let me get back to introduce myself. My name is Heather, and this is Knitting in Paradise. This is episode 5. So very new to the podcast world. And so for the 5 of you who are watching right now, welcome and thank you for coming back. Or thank you for staying if this is your first time. I called it Knitting in Paradise because when I started this podcast, I was living in Guam, which is amazing. But now I'm in Connecticut, and not that Connecticut isn't its own little paradise in some ways, I guess, to some people, but when you say the word paradise or think of paradise, Connecticut probably isn't the first to come to mind. So I had considered changing the name of the podcast, but I haven't gotten there yet. So it might just stay Knitting in Paradise to, I don't know, to be reminiscent of my time in Guam. So anyways, yes, mostly this is knitting. I talk about stuff that I've completed, stuff that I'm working on. Of course, what most people who do knitting podcasts talk about, what I want to work on, yarn stash enhancements, which has come to I was going to say it's come to a standstill, but who am I kidding? I've done my fair share of stash enhancements in the past 6 weeks or so. Thank God for the post, right? I've ordered other things which I'll talk about. But anyways, I've mentioned in a previous episode that I have wanted to learn how to sew for a very long time, and I have done it. I bought a sewing machine since my last episode. It has been delivered. I'm looking at it right now. It's glorious. I love it. I ended up going with the Brother CS6000i. It sounds like the next Terminator. But yes, it's a Brother. It's computerized. I talked about previously that I wasn't sure. If you watch Nancy on Round Rabbit, she talks about how, you can't go wrong really with if you wanted, get a sewing machine to go with like one that's 25 years old, vintage one. And they're beautiful and they're amazing and they have their own advantages because I think you learn certain things differently. I don't know. I think you learn a little bit more about the mechanics of stuff if there are certain things that are manual. Absolutely. I think I went with the way I learn best, and I learn by doing. And if the machine does certain things for me to start with, and then I learn kind of backwards on how it worked, I tend to learn a little bit better, if that makes any sense at all. But anyways, I found it's, so I went with the computerized for that reason, because I just kind of wanted to go with the basics. Plus, I didn't want to spend a lot of money because I wasn't sure if I was going to like it. and I'm still not. So far, so good. I mean, I haven't really gotten into anything complicated. So I got a machine, and I've watched many sewing tutorials on YouTube. Thank goodness for YouTube as well. I mean, you could just learn anything on YouTube. I learned how to knit mostly on YouTube, and I learned how to thread a bobbin, or thread a bobbin, thread my machine, along with, there's so much to, that you can learn on YouTube. And a couple of the channels that were super helpful, Farmhouse on Boone. She is a woman who basically does everything. I mean, she's got tutorials on sewing, cooking, just any, a bunch of different DIY. I haven't gotten completely into her channel, but just happened to notice when looking for her sewing tutorials that she's got other stuff too. She's a mom of 6, and she looks like she's about 20. She's beautiful. And I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But anyway, she's Farmhouse on Boone on YouTube. I'm pretty sure that's her name on Instagram as well. Beautiful stuff, really easy to follow. She doesn't use a lot of, the vernacular for particular crafts. She uses layman's terms, which to me just works. And she does beautiful stuff. And so I learned a lot of stuff on her channel. Evelyn Wood has some wonderful tutorials. Her thing, I think, is she does a lot of vintage clothing. She wears vintage clothing. She makes vintage clothing. Beautiful stuff. She flips basically stuff that she finds in thrift stores into beautiful vintage pieces. But she's got some basic sewing tutorials too. The first thing I came across on hers is basics to have in your sewing kit, which I thought was very helpful. And then so once I found that, I went into her channel, subscribed to her channel, and she's got all this other stuff too that is super helpful. And then there's a basic one. Oh, and she's Australian. I think she's Australian. I always get Australian and New Zealanders, the accent mixed up. But I'm pretty sure she's Australian, so she's of course fun to listen to. And then there's a channel called Made to Sew. Very, very basic stuff. I'm pretty sure that was the first one that I came across as far as how to thread my machine. Very, very basic, very easy to follow. So those were the 3 main channels that I went to. Excuse me if you hear my dog Jake barking in the background. It's a beautiful sunny day today here in Connecticut, and he barks at everything. Anyways, so I have been working with my sewing machine, doing basic stuff. One of the first projects that I made probably wasn't the best first projects that I went to. Obviously, I took some fabric and ran it through the machine and just to get a feel for it. And anyways, I started talking way too much about sewing, more than I thought I would. So if you're waiting for the knitting, it's coming. But I wanted to share this one finished object that I'm super, super proud of, and I can't wait. It's a birthday gift from my mom, and I finished it, and I couldn't be more proud of it because it's so great. So one of the other crafts that I do is cross stitching. I love cross stitching, and I just picked it up again a few months back, and I forgot how much I loved it. And Tiny Modernist, she's on Instagram. She has a website too. She designs like cross stitch patterns. I think other stuff too. She does some sewing stuff. And she put out a free pattern. I did show it on the last episode. And my mom really loves it. Oh, Mom, if you are watching this, please look away and, I don't know, fast forward it and try not to listen to. Maybe I'll tell you not to watch this. Anyways, I showed the finished cross stitch on my last episode, and I thought I was going to put it in a frame for my mom because, that's what you do with cross stitch stuff. And what I learned, one of the many things that I also discovered that you can do Tiny Modernist gave me the idea, and she has this wonderful tutorial on how to put your cross stitch finished project onto a pillow. And it was such an easy pattern, so easy to follow, and that was pretty much my first kind of ambitious, but still I did it, and it's not pretty. My seams are kind of crooked, they're not, my corners are kind of rounded, but I ended up putting this cross stitch pattern, which is adorable, onto, and I made a pillow. So my seams, I mean, to look at it from here, like in the screen, I'm like, wow, that looks actually pretty great. I haven't seamed it up yet. I found a tutorial on the invisible seam here, and so I'm gonna do that. And of course I got this pattern, or fabric, I'm sorry, from my local fabric store. Curbside service, yay for curbside service too. So I got my cross stitch onto a pillow, and my mom is going to love it, and I love it, and I need to probably send it to her soon before I don't send it because I think it's adorable, and I'll probably make something similar for myself because super easy. The only thing that I struggled with, and it was an all-day project, the only thing I struggled with was there was certain, math that I feel like I had to do to get, because there's 4 pieces, and of course, depending on, what the measurements of the sides are, and this had to be a 45-degree angle. So getting that angle, she kind of she describes it on her tutorial, but you kind of have to do your own math because she does it based on the measurements that she had. And man, I wish I paid more attention in geometry. And I'm sure the more I learn about it, it's probably not as complicated as I made it for myself. But anyways, I figured it out, and my seams on the inside are a disaster because, well, I figured it out enough. But the end project is, it's a pillow. It's not like, it's gonna be on display in a professional capacity or anything like that. The most important thing is my mom is going to love this. So thank you, Tiny Modernist, for giving this free cross-stitch pattern, this free pillow tutorial. What a great creative way to display your cross-stitch instead of just putting it in a frame on the wall. So that was, I'm so proud of it. I don't know if you can tell. So anyways, that's my sewing, and I have something, I'll continue talking more about sewing in the future. I do have a project on deck to do next, and it's actually a blouse by Pearl Soho that's supposedly decent for beginners, because basically it's, cutting out a couple of rectangles and sewing them together. So I've ordered my fabric, and I'll talk more about that in my next episode. I've talked a lot more about sewing than I anticipated. So, all right, let's talk about FOs. So let's talk about, I'm wearing one. This is one of my favorite FOs. I love it so much. This is the Como top. And let me turn over my notes here. Excuse the crinkly paper. This is the Como top by Anna and Heidi Pickles. And I'm pretty sure they're known as Pickles, or Pickles Company, on Ravelry and Instagram. And it is I'm going to stand back a little bit so you can see the back as well, because it's got a deep V in the back as well. Make sure you can see that. And just a little tank top. And it is 100% cotton. It calls for, it calls for, Pickles also has yarn. Yeah, but I used my, I talked about this in my last episode, because I told you about how my husband, who's a motorcycle rider, drove down to my local yarn shop, Twist Yarn, to pick up curbside service, which was really, really great. And they had this in a kit. So this is super, super easy. super fast knit. I did it probably in less than 2 weeks, and that was with working on other projects as well. I used Clio worsted 100% cotton by Plymouth Yarns. It's not bad as far as the feel of it. It's definitely, after blocking, it's a lot softer. So it's very, very soft cotton after blocking. Very, very nice, very easy to work with. There were a couple of errors in the pattern, and I sent Pickles an email, and they responded very quickly and were very apologetic, and they're probably going to put out the errata. I have on my Ravelry page, I have the actual notes there. It had to do with decreases in the even rows once you started these, because it's knit in the round, the body is knit in the round from the bottom up until you get to these 4 panels, the front and the back, and then these are knit flat. And obviously there's decreases as you go up, but only on the odd rows. And there's a lovely I-cord side, but anyways, there were errors. They told me the correct thing, and they're going to put out a edited pattern, and those notes are on my Ravelry project page. But other than that, super easy to follow pattern, super quick knit, basic stockinette with I-cord edging on the sides here. They give you an option of a ribbed hem, or I think the other one is a provisional cast on, I think. But I don't always have the patience for that. But anyway, so I went with the ribbed, and I think it's really, really cute. And so, yeah, so that's all done, and I love it, and I'll probably do another one for sure. Because it's just so easy and fast, and it's such a cute little piece. You can layer this with, with whatever. So there's that. My next FO that I wanted to talk about is this hat. This, let me go back to my notes, is the Lake Reed hat. And this is by Asita Krebs. And I used a couple. This is the Knit Picks Hawthorne hand paint tonal that I used when I made my V-neck boxy by Hoagie Locatelli. I had some extra, so I think I doubled it up. I did double it up. I doubled it up because that's a fingering, and this is a DK pattern. So I doubled that up, and then I also down here for the fold over brim, I paired it with another fingering by Lolo Did It, her everyday sock. Yep, her everyday sock in Pinky Tuscadero. I had a couple of singles, little minis of hers. And so I just wanted to make a marled brim. And so those are the 2 yarns that I made. And then this was, I'm pretty sure, my first, I'll put it right up there so you can kind of see the cabling pattern. Really pretty cabling. It reminds me a little bit of that antler pattern that was really popular a while back. But the cabling is all the way around. It's really, really pretty, really easy. This was a fairly quick knit. And then I can't remember where I got this pom-pom. I'm pretty sure it was an Etsy shop. It's probably in my, it's probably not in my Ravelry project page. It's on my Instagram feed where I shared this hat. I'm pretty sure I gave them credit, whoever I got this pom-pom from. This was my very first attempt at a provisional cast on. And of course it gives a really nice rolled edge. And I actually really like it. It's super warm, super thick when you pair, 2 pretty decent fingering weights together. I love this hat. So that's the Lake Reed by Asita Krebs. So thank you, Asita. It's beautiful. What's next? Okay, so way back when, I think, I want to say in my very first episode, I talked about, you know, if you watch, and who doesn't, but if you watch The Grocery Girls, probably about 2 years ago, they did they teamed up with Hugh Loco to do, and I can't remember what they called it, but it was a yarn club. And each yarn, it was like a mystery yarn club, and each one was kind of paired with a memory from the Grocery Girls' childhood. So they came up with like a memory from their childhood, and then Hugh Loco created a yarn that was kind of themed towards it. And anyways, you could, and I forget how many months there were, 4, 6, I can't remember. I did one. You had the option of just doing one. And the one I got was just gorgeous. It was called Wanna Double. Excuse me while I take a drink. And I shared it in one of my first episodes after I had it caked up. I think I had it caked up, doesn't matter. And I didn't know what I was gonna do with it. And it's her glit sock, so it's sparkly. And it was this beautiful multicolor, I don't know if you would call it variegated, but it was multicolor, and it had sparkle in it, and it's gorgeous. And so I forget how I came about it, but I ended up doing the Chasing Blizzard shawl. And the Chasing Blizzard is by Katie Gnomes. I'm pretty sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly, but Katie G. It's called the Chasing Blizzard shawl. And maybe I'll pop up the pattern right here. And if nothing shows up, here's my yarn. But anyways, I'll try to pop up the original pattern, but what I ended up doing was, okay, so let me just show you this gloriousness, because it's one of my favorite finished objects. So it's a pretty decent size shawl, well, as far as length is concerned, but this is the Wanna Double by Hugh Loco, and unfortunately it's not catching the sparkle, and I paired it with, I started pairing it with Dingo Dye Works. This purple right here is Dingo Dye Works, the Ridgy Didge. And I don't think it had a color. Yeah, I don't think it had a color. And if it did, I apologize. But it's Ridgy Didge by Dingo Dye Works, and I ended up running out. But anyways, I'll show you the rest of it. It's just, I love it so much. So anyways, I ran out of the light purple, and I just ended up using Yarn Ink Classic Sock. That's the dark purple in Royal. And you see it has a picot bind off, which was a really nice finish to this. And you know, I really like the way it turned out with the two different purples in it. And it just goes into another point, stripes, and just super easy, super quick knit, and the color combinations, I couldn't pat myself on the back enough. I love how it turned out. So that's the Chasing Blizzard by Katie G. So that's that, and I absolutely love it. And I wish you can see the sparkle in the Hugh Loco's yarn. It's so beautiful. And it just really is nice with all the multicolors. So there's that. What's next? Okay. So I'm sure some of you have done some gnomes. And if you haven't, they're super, super fun. I did a bunch of them at Christmas time and gave them away. I actually sold a couple too. As little Christmas gifts for other people. Anyway, Never Not Gnoming by Sarah Shira. I did a bunch of these little guys. And I just used a bunch of different multiples, scraps. It's such a good stash buster for your minis. And if you're over the Granny Square or Cozy Memories blanket or whatever, you want to find another thing to do with your minis, your scrappy yarn, leftover stuff. I made a bunch of these at Christmas time, and they're so stinking cute and easy. The pattern, I believe there are 3 different sizes you could do. This, I want to say this is the medium. No, this is the small. I don't remember. Anyway, so I did a bunch of these guys, and they're super duper, super duper, super duper cute. They're done on DPNs. So here's my V-neck boxy yarn, some more left over. I'm pretty sure that's Pinky Tuscadero by Lolo Did It. That's also the one from my V-neck boxy. This is also a Lolo Did It. I'm pretty sure this is one of her little minis. I can't remember the name of it. Here's another one. So super easy. You start at the top. The hat's done separately, and then you pick up stitches and you do the rest of the body, work it in the round. You do the arms separately, the nose separately, and the beard separately, and it's just super, they're super easy, they're super cute, and I have them all over my little shelf here. Never Not Gnoming, love them. Such a cute little addition to like a Christmas gift. So they're super fun. And I actually stuffed them differently. Some of them are stuffed with just, what do you call it, fiber fill. And then some of them are stuffed with the beads. I can't remember. Oh, this one is, before I got the beads you can buy at the fabric store, I'm pretty sure these are uncooked beans in there. That works. And then of course there's the, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like filler. So that's just a preference thing. I feel like the fiber fill, makes it light, so like you can put it into your Christmas tree. It's super, super light. But it doesn't stand, well, it does stand, but the beads though, or the beans, makes it so they're a little bottom heavy, so they don't fall over as easily, but it makes them a little slightly heavier. So just, it's a preference thing. Oh, and then you also have the option of, let me see if I have different ones here. You have the option of doing a vertical stitch beard and a horizontal. Oh, you can see the sparkle. He's got some sparkle in his beard. Yeah, the horizontal or the vertical beard. So that's kind of a fun little thing too. Anyway, super, super fun. Never Not Gnoming. And I think, oh, the only other FO, recent FO, and I know I talked about it in my last episode, maybe my last 2 episodes, was the Jockey Shawl. I still don't know how to say it. It doesn't sound right. It might be Jockey. It's a Korean word by Knit Boop Designs. And I'll pop a picture of the final project because I've already sent it off to my mother-in-law. She loved it. I used the Hawthorne kettle dye in Picnic, which is the red, and the Hawthorne tonal hand paint in Grant's Pass, which is the brown. And that's the Jockey Shawl. It's a really good size shawl, very easy knit, very quick knit. And so I'll pop a picture if I haven't already of the finished object. And she absolutely loved it. So there's nothing like making something for knit-worthy people. My mother-in-law is definitely knit-worthy, so she absolutely loved it. So those are my FOs for this time, and move on to whips. Now I only have 2 things on the needles. I still have my Cipolla by Caitlin Hunter on the needles, and I'm not gonna bring that out just because I've shown it to you before. I'm on Sleeve Island, and I absolutely love the sweater. I can't wait to finish it and wear. Well, I'm not gonna be able to wear it until next winter. But it's turning out really beautiful. I really love it. But I do know that one thing, I probably won't ever do a sweater that has color work on the sleeves again until I figure out, and maybe there is a way, because I've got the sleeves, I'm doing magic loop. And color work on magic loop is the pain in the butt. So it's very, very slow going, you know, as if Sleeve Island isn't a slog to begin with, but it's very slow going with color work on magic loop, but I'm getting through it. I do at least 5 rows a day, and I'm also doing only 1 at a time, because with color work I just thought it would be too much with 2 at a time. So Cipolla is still going. I'm about halfway through the first sleeve. So you know, maybe by not next episode, definitely not next episode, but the episode after that, I'll have an FO for you with the Cipolla. So anyways, and then I always like to have, well, my happy place is 4 projects on the needles at one time. But then every once in a while, I'll want to finish all those objects and get them all off the needles and then start fresh with 4 new objects. And so I kind of ended up doing that. I thought that was going to be, if the Cipolla wasn't slowing me down, I would have had fresh, you know, nothing on the needles to start 4 new projects. But I don't want to start 3 other projects. I'm at that point in my Cipolla sweater that I really want to get it done. And if I start 3 other projects, you know, that'll just take my attention away, and I really need to stay focused on that. So I only cast on 1 other project. And I wanted to keep it simple, but not too simple. So I cast on a pair of socks. And these are the French Vanilla Socks by Christy at Yarn Cafe Creations. I think it's Yarn Cafe Creations. Anyways, Christy, this is her pattern. And the pattern is written for DPNs, but I love Magic Loop, so I'm going to try it on Magic Loop. She also does a heel flap and gusset, which I haven't decided if I'm going to do that yet. That's not my favorite. I like putting in an afterthought heel, but after looking at the pattern, I'm probably going to have to do some adjustments as far as where I start, because it is a patterned sock. It's a very simple pattern, but I usually do vanilla socks because I just like to bust them out, and I do the same toe, and I do an afterthought heel, and I like shorty socks, so I only put like, you know, a short cuff here, and I do 10 rounds. And so anyways, I'll put a picture of the original pattern right here. They're super, super cute. I wear shorty socks all the time. And anyways, the yarn I'm using, this is Yarn Ink Classic Sock. I've had it in my stash for a while. I probably bought this while I was still in Guam. At least a year and a half ago I got this. And I'm pretty sure it's called, Nava. Nava is the colorway. It's 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. 231 yards, 50 grams. And I'm really liking how it's knitting up. So it's got some pinks in there, and it also has some oranges in there. You can probably see right in there. Pretty decent representation on the screen. So, and then the black is by Brew City Yarns. There they are. Super cute label. And this is their XL Premium Draft Sock in Niffler Blackest. And it is just a straight black yarn. I have a huge cake of it. My husband, actually, they did a mystery cow a while back. I want to say last summer. And so it came with the mystery cow. I think it ended up being a multicolored brioche shawl. And I had mentioned to my husband that I want to learn how to do brioche. I haven't tackled that yet, and I will eventually. And so he looked up this kit, this mystery cow, and he got it for me as a gift because he's the best husband in the world. But I wasn't really excited about the shawl because I don't really wear shawls. I mean, a few exceptions. So, and the other, here's what it came with. Oops. Ooh, ball down. So, what a perfect, combination for brioche. You got the black and then the multicolor in the front. Super, super fun. And then it also came with Harry Potter inspired, house inspired minis. So I have those up there somewhere. Actually, I'll pull them down. Came with these little minis as well, and it's got, the different houses of Harry Potter. I'm ashamed to say that if you guys are Harry Potter fans, you will know which house is which, but you can see. Super cute. And I haven't figured out what I'm going to do with them, but it's not going to be that mystery cow. But God bless my husband for getting me this kit, because it's pretty awesome kit. I'm just not going to use it for the pattern that was given with it. Anyway. Totally off track there. Anyway, so those are my socks. Those are my whips. Just got a pair of socks going. We'll finish my Cipolla. And that's really all that's going on in my world. I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about this madness that's going on in our world right now. I will say that I am super grateful for so many things. I feel like being an only child has helped me because I'm super comfortable being by myself. I live with my husband, so I'm not by myself. But as far as, being in social circles all the time, I have no requirement for that. And I really know how to entertain myself. And between knitting and learning how to sew, there's a couple other crafts that I'm dabbling in, with the cross stitch. And Nancy on Round Rabbit inspired me to try punch needle. And so I haven't gotten too far into that yet. Maybe I'll share that next time. So I have, and I love to read and, and Netflix at night. So I am super fortunate in that I have not felt the cabin fever I think that a lot of people feel. We live in a neighborhood. We have 2 dogs, and so while we have a fenced yard, we do take them for a walk every day when the weather allows. So I am super fortunate, and I can only, send good thoughts to the folks that aren't as fortunate as I am. So my thoughts are with you. I can only hope that this gets better soon. I've been keeping busy with my crafts. My husband and I put together jigsaw puzzles every morning. That's our coffee routine. We get up, we have coffee, we work on a jigsaw puzzle. I think we're on number 5 or 6 right now, and these are 1,000 piece puzzles. So maybe I'll pop in some pictures of some finished ones of those, because there's 3 of them that my husband actually wants to frame and put up in his man cave. They're pretty neat. One of them has covers of horror novels all over, super great. Another one has covers of Edgar Allan Poe books on them. There's one that's all 80s themed. And then we did a couple of other ones. Right now we're working on one that's all sugar skulls, and it is a challenge because it's basically just colors and circles. So it's a little bit challenging to work on that one, but that's what we do in the morning. We have our coffee, we work on a jigsaw puzzle. You know, I do yoga every single day, which has been super helpful to me. I started right before this whole mess started. I actually started yoga teacher training, and it was one weekend a month that I would go to class, and I only made it to one weekend before this all started. So while I practice every day, what I also need to do is study certain things, read certain books. So I have that to do, which is great. And so, yeah, I'm just keeping myself busy, and I hope you are too. Definitely been binging on Netflix. Some of our favorites are, we finished Vikings. What a great show that was. At least we finished the season that's available to us on Hulu. I think there's an additional season we just don't have access to yet. We just started the 3rd season of Ozark. That's a great show. We're waiting for The Last Kingdom, which the 3rd season will be out in a week. I feel like there was another show we watched The Ranch. That's a hilarious show. And I feel like there was another show we blazed through during this time. I can't remember what it is. They all start to blend together, you know. You know, some podcasts that I watch. I mentioned Nancy with Round Rabbit. I love her podcast. She unfortunately, she posted on Instagram that her family suffered a devastating loss. So, you know, we haven't heard from her in a bit, understandably. I feel really, really bad. But she's one of my favorite podcasts. I watch Chevy Rell. She's probably my favorite. I love her so much. She just is one of those people that I feel like I could hang out with. Through Chevy Rell, I discovered Not Quite Enough Yarn. Leslie from Not Quite Enough Yarn. She's a hoot. She's British. She's wonderful. I'm currently kind of binging through her. Right now, I've just made it up to her Vlogmas episodes, so I'm getting through those. So those are my, and Squirrel Pie Productions. I think her name is Tommy. So I just started watching her. I'm way behind maybe on episode 6 or something. And I discovered her through Nancy at Round Rabbit. So her stuff is really great. She's a sweet woman, and she's got some lovely projects that she shares on her episodes. So I watch those as well. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I'm at 43 minutes, and I think that's enough. So by the time I edit, it might be 41 minutes. So we'll see. I think that was pretty much all that I had to talk about. My husband's on a motorcycle ride right now. I don't feel comfortable podcasting or recording while he's in the house. And so if he talks about that he's going to go on a ride, that's when I think, oh, okay, I'm going to record. So, anyways, so I hope you enjoyed the episode. If there's anything that you would want to talk about, or if you have any questions for me, please feel free to comment below. I'd be happy to hear from you. I'm a really new podcaster, and I know there's tons and tons to choose from, and you know, hopefully I can offer something that you enjoy. So thank you for stopping by. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.